begin. I'm skipping container gardening. We can do that later. Composting. Okay, I like to bring this little this poster because it says composting is easy. Just ask your Mother Earth. Composting is Mother Earth's way to recycle. Every year she puts another layer of leaves onto the magnificent compost pile we call the earth. What you guys are stepping on is eventually going to become compost. Because this on the floor is natural. It's wood chips, wood shavings, and some straw. So this will eventually become compost. Make a pile, use a bin. Okay, so we're going to go through these basic steps. Okay.
Is this mulch from the city?
Yes, it is. So you get what you get, and you don't get upset.
Right.
You know, if we can't afford to go buy,
Of course.
you know, we have to get whatever we have. Okay, so it's compost time. How to build a compost pile. Let's walk right over here.
Wow, that looks
This is a compost pile, okay? It's not quite finished yet. We want it to be, your ideal compost pile, you want it to be 3 feet high and 3 feet wide, okay? This is what it'll look like if it was 3 feet high, 3 feet wide. This is what it looks like. This is an open compost pile. Now, how do you build a compost pile like this? You always want to have 50% greens, which is nitrogen, to 50% browns, which is carbon. And even 50-50. Okay? Now, what are considered greens? Veggie scraps, fruit scraps, coffee grounds, eggshells, grass cuttings without any synthetic chemicals or pesticides or fertilizers. Manures from the following: rabbits, goats, cattle, chicken, horses, bats, elephants, and birds. Yeah. Bat guano. Okay.
What about iguanas? Guinea pigs.
Are they vegetarian?
Yeah.
Yes.
So any vegetarian.
Any vegetarian animal is fine. No meat-eating animal, and we'll talk about that next. What are considered browns? Dried leaves, dried grass, wood chips, straw prunings, chopped or shredded paper bags, cardboards, egg cartons, cereal boxes, paper, newspaper, milk cartons. Take note. The cardboard should not have any shiny substance on the outside or on the inside. That's including the egg cartons, the milk cartons, okay? Your junk mail, as long as it doesn't have any shiny magazine paper on it.
So the ink from the printing on newspaper is fine?
Yes, it's generally soy-based ink these days.
Oh, okay.
If you're in doubt, call them. Call the editor, call the newspaper, and ask them, are you guys using soy-based ink on your newspaper or on your articles? Because I'd like to compost it. Okay? All right. What not to add to your compost? Meat, oils, fat, cooked fruits, cooked vegetables, manure from meat-eating animals, even humans. Don't go putting your poop in the compost. Diseased plants. Hey, Tiger. That's Tiger. For those of you that read the 6x12 plot, that's Tiger. Yes.
If you're vegan.
If you're vegan, talk to me after class, because I want to start composting my own stuff too. Diseased plants. Remember we showed you earlier when we were talking about the plants? If you see any fungus, any infestation of insects on your plants, don't throw them in the compost, because chances are the compost is not going to heat up to kill those diseases or those weed seeds. Ashes. Ashes don't break down. Okay? Now, why not the meat? Because you don't want a rodent problem. Meats attract rodents. The smell, they can smell it from very far away. So you do not want to attract rats or possums or anything else, because what happens is they poop in your compost, and you don't want their poop in your compost. Oils. Once again, the smell of the meat and the oils, it'll attract rodents. Also, the cooked fruits and cooked veggies will attract rodents. And plus, sometimes it won't break down, and you don't want that to rot. Manure, why not? Because from meat-eating animals, because they also carry diseases, and that might be transferred into your compost piles. Okay? Now, how to build a compost pile like this?
This is a cold compost.
This is an open compost, and we'll go through the differences right now. This is an open compost just laid right flat on the ground. Okay? The first layer, we're going to talk about lasagna compost. This is a lasagna compost. The first layer you want to put down is green. Well, how much green how much green should I put down? Grab yourself a 5-gallon bucket. Put down about 5 green piles, 5-gallon buckets down as a first layer. Or 3, depending on how much you need. You put the layer down of greens, the same ratio of greens to browns. So if you're going to use 5 buckets of greens, then you put 5 buckets of browns on top of those greens. Then the greens, then the browns, then the greens, and then you close it off with the browns, like it's closed off right now with browns. The reason why we close it off with browns like this is because we don't want all those fruit flies and just insects to be flying around attracting, rodents or whatnot. Okay? We want to keep it closed. In the middle of this pile can heat up between 1 to 2 days up to 120 to 160 degrees in Fahrenheit. That's how hot this pile can get. Okay? How to maintain this pile? There are many methods of maintaining a pile. Okay? You can wait and leave it like this for a whole year, and that would be considered a cold pile because it's just breaking down. Right? Or you can start turning it yourself. After 3 weeks of it sitting like this, get yourself a pitchfork and start turning it on upside down. Every layer that you turn, you want to water it. Sprinkle a little bit of water. You want the water in the compost pile to be like a wring-out sponge. You don't want it soaked. You're kind of just giving the insects some waters because they're thirsty. That's what I tell the children. Okay? As you're turning it, it's called aerating. You're aerating your pile. You're giving the insects some oxygen so they can work a little faster. Okay? You can get compost in about 2 to 3 months if you turn it constantly. You can turn it up to once a week, 2 times a week. The more you turn and you water your compost pile, the faster it'll break down and the faster you will receive some compost. Okay? So this is called the open pile compost. Now, raise your hand if you have enough space for this at your house. Okay, I don't. Okay, so I don't have the space for this. So,
Excuse me, do you need to have a place that there's a lot of sun, or can it be
good question.
in a shady area?
I would put your compost pile in the sun, but many of us don't have sun or a big enough garden. So I do my compost pile in the shade. It just takes a little longer. And I put a little bit more greens than browns to cook it, to make it hot. The nitrogen will heat up your pile. Okay? So a little bit more greens, like 60 to 40. Okay? Experiment. How do I find out if my pile has gone bad? In your training manuals, there are several incidents on how you can detect if it's gone bad. The first thing that you can just sense is the smell. If it smells like, there's something wrong with your pile. There's an imbalance. There's an imbalance. It's either too green or too brown. You did something wrong. Okay? All right, let's go to this bin.
Wait,
Yes.
I have a pile like this that's not this perfect, and I keep on putting stuff, and it's been there for a year, and it's still there.
Okay. Once you build your pile to 3 feet high and 3 feet wide, you close it.
Oh.
You don't keep adding greens and browns.
Okay.
Okay? You don't. Because if you want to harvest the compost within 3 to 6 months, you want to close it because you want this compost pile to cook on its own. If you keep adding, it's like you keeping adding ingredients to your pot of soup, and the taste is kind of off because you're like, okay, 1 second it's great, and another second it's bad. So you want to keep it consistent, close it, and just keep turning that specific pile. Okay. Now, those of us that don't have enough space, we go out and we buy a bin like this, or go on Craigslist, get a free one. Okay, everybody's always recycling, throwing these away and whatnot. Yes. What do you do with this? I would put, once again, the layers. Greens to browns, greens to browns, greens to browns, greens to browns. Now, a lot of us don't eat that many greens. In this instance, you can keep adding your greens and browns because this lower part right here is going to decompose, and what you do is you harvest here, and you grab the compost from here, the compost that's ready.
That's a really nice one.
So there is no stopping that machine.
There's no stopping it. You could, if you fill it up to the top, you could just let it sit and decompose on its own, or you can keep adding to the top because it's like a lasagna and it's decomposing the lower part is decomposing faster than the top part. Okay?
Is this the one that the city sells?
Yes, I believe this is the one the city sells. Now, for those of us that have bad backs, don't want to turn this, or don't have the time to do this, or just simply don't like this method, this is the tumbler.
That's nice.
And that cost a fortune, huh?
I think so.
Like $500.
This is the tumbler. You add your greens, the same ratio, 50% of greens to 50% of browns. You add a little bit of water, you close it, and you turn it for aeration.
What's in there now?
And where do you
There's
harvest?
nothing much in here. You open it, you harvest.
On YouTube, you can get instructions for how to make those for like $30.
There you go.
Oh,
Thank
really?
you. There you go.
Where?
On YouTube. With like a canister.
Yeah. So run a search on YouTube for making a tumbler at home. Okay. How do I know when to harvest the compost? You grab yourself, if you notice that it looks like black, I'll show you what it looks like right now. If it looks like dirt and it smells like healthy earth, that compost is done. Okay? Now, some of us have bigger compost where the compost doesn't decompose all at the same time. So what you want to do is you get a mesh, or one of those trays that they give you at the nurseries with lots of plants, with the little holes at the bottom. You put a couple of handfuls of compost in there. You have a bucket or something to maybe a tarp, and you put your compost on the tray, and you sift it. Okay, you're exercising. That's how I get my big guns. You exercise. You got your back straight. You want to make sure you have your knees bent, and you exercise. Okay, you sift your compost out. That comes out. This is what you can do with it.